Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for day 4 of the second Ashes Test. Australia at the moment leading by 221 runs. And it's a very tricky day to predict in terms of when the Australians decide they've got enough runs. Because when you're up against Bazball, it's not exactly an easy task of saying aside. Normally you want to set them about 4 runs and over, make it tricky for them. Bazball is normally if they're going slowly. So I believe Australia, they'll probably want to put on about a 400 run lead here and then from there try and bowl England out within about 4 or 5 sessions. But that might be relatively tricky to do as well, although this test match, it has been progressing very nicely. We saw a little tiny bit of rain to stop play the end of day 3. But so far, we've already seen 2 teams bat fully. Australia bowled out for 416, England bowled out for 325, and that was just within the first 7 sessions of this test match. Has got a possible 15. This will be the 9th, I believe, of the test. If my maths is correct, it might be a little bit shaky, but we're up to day 4 of this contest, and the English sitting on the sideline just about to make their way out onto the pitch. Still looks relatively overcast, which does mean maybe swing could be an option for them early on with Jimmy Anderson. We have got Brandon has said, "Hey Hamish, welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing very well. Okay, ready for session 1. It's going to be a good day," says Peter. Yeah, they've had about a 3-minute delay or somewhere along those lines. It's a little bit later starting for day 4, but they are just about to make their way out onto the pitch. England are under the pump, says Mumbo Jumbo. Yeah, they're going to need a lot of quick wickets. That is for sure. And then from there, they have to decide whether or not they want to go after the Australian total or whether they want to take it slightly slowly and are willing to accept that draw. For them to have a chance of winning, they really need to bowl Australia out before they get to a lead of 350. We're up against it, says Simon Wood. Yep. But sometimes that is when we see some brilliance in a game of cricket, I will mention. So you never know. There might be a little bit of a chance that they start off with a hiss and a roar. We've actually seen 2 starting sessions of a day end up with a huge amount of wickets being taken. For the Australians, they lost 5 wickets in session number 1 on day 2. The English, they lost 6 wickets, I believe it was, in the first session of day 3. Test cricket isn't Bazball, says Mumbo Jumbo, although it's very hard to decide what is what is Test cricket, isn't it? Because you look at England, you look at the amount of wins that they've got recently, and you ask yourself the question, before Bazball, they were getting a lot less wins. So, yes, the game, I guess it slowly changes throughout generations of players, but at the moment, they've found a group of players that seem to benefit from playing this more attacking game. Because you look at what England were doing a few years ago, opening with Rory Burns, opening with Jason Roy, but he wasn't given that license to go out there and hit the ball. So he kept on going out nice and early. And I mean, it's one of those ones that some people still don't like the Bazball style, but it's producing results. Yes, sometimes good for England, sometimes bad, but they're still doing a lot better than I feel they would have if they were playing regular test match cricket with the way that they had gone prior to the Bazball era. I don't want to do my 3 live stream because I got one tomorrow and Tuesday. Says Brandon there. Now the first ball just about to be bowled. Steve Smith on strike. Okay. They've got leg slip, leg gully. It seems like there's going to be some short stuff or maybe even just straight deliveries here from Ollie Robinson. But he's got to finish off the over that he did start last night with 2 balls remaining in it. Oh. That one's going to be worked to the leg side, and Steve Smith gets it straight in between slip and gully, and that'll race away for 4 runs. So it's always nice when you set a field. Ben Stokes is shaking his head. He can't quite believe it that he's been able to find that gap. Also just got to accept that Oz are probably the best team or test team in the world. Can't blame Bazball when we lose. Have to accept we're up against a quality side. Exactly right. I mean, a perfect example, India in their World Test Championship final, they didn't play Bazball, but they were still defeated because this Aussie side at the moment just have such a tight-knit group of players who all are doing their individual job and make it very hard to go well against them. It's like looking at this opening combo, or even the top 4 we'll look at. If Warner doesn't perform, Smith gets 100, Labuschagne gets a 50, and Kawaja works his way to somewhere in the 30s or something like that. And then that's pretty much your opening group of the top four doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Then let's say Warner performs. Maybe Labuschagne doesn't go too flash. Kawaja gets himself the ton. They seem to always have it that at least one of that top four go on to get a relatively big total. At the moment, it is sitting here with Kawaji sitting on 58 runs for this innings. But, in the first innings, he only got himself 17, and it was Warner and also Steve Smith who were able to get themselves the runs. So if one of them's missing out, the others are performing. And then in the bowling department, if it's not Hazelwood getting the wickets, it's Cummins. If it's not Cummins, it's Stark. If it's not them, it's Lyon, because they've got that sensational spin attack available as well. Yeah, England at the moment, I'd like to see Jimmy Anderson bowl well today. I feel like he's had a slightly, some would say, lackluster Ashes so far, only picking up the 2 or 3 wickets. We're saying maybe he was going to be the player who was dropped from this test, but instead they decided to keep him there. And Reed and Jonathan say, hello, can you sing Jonathan happy birthday? I mean, I'm not great at singing, that is for sure. I can wish him happy birthday. But yeah, I don't think I'll be singing it. When you're gone, my network was great, says Brandon. At the moment, my network's not too flash. So maybe it's my side, Brandon, that's playing up. I see that I've got 1 bar out of 3. So it might be glitching a little bit, unfortunately. But that is just the case normally when you use up so much Wi-Fi over a few days. Plus, the weather's actually shocking here at the moment. It was raining sideways only a few hours ago, which wasn't ideal. That's at the pad of Kawaja. Bounce off to the leg side, adjust the 1. Smith sitting on 10 off 26. Kawaja once again just slowly ticking over in the runs department. We've seen the 2 wickets falling so far. We've seen Warner out. Then also Marnus Labuschagne not quite able to get the start that he would have liked. What games should buy for PS4 and what's his favourite show? I assume we're missing a name there. Someone's got a PS4 and a game that they want to buy, but I'm not sure who the name is. So we'll just assume it's anyone, I guess. So anyone, what's a good PS4 game at the moment? What game have I played recently? I haven't played a lot of games recently. Me and Dad, like a few weeks ago, played 7 Days to Die. That's a kind of fun game. That's on console though, so we played quite a bit ages ago, and then we lost everything in our world because it reset, and then we decided to play it not too long ago, and then it once again like glitched, and then we lost everything twice. So that always makes it hard. St. George in the office today? He is not. No, it's 10:09 p.m. at the moment here in New Zealand, so George is probably almost sleeping at the moment. Baseball is only semi-effective now because teams are not fully used to it yet. Or teams are not or were not. No use scoring 350 all out in 4 sessions. Too much cricket left to play, says Grant. Because I guess one benefit is in English conditions, normally you are guaranteed at least a day where there's a little bit of rain around. Whereas, I mean, so far throughout this Ashes, we haven't actually had too much of that. We saw a little bit of rain yesterday. Steve Smith's looking up at the sky. I've probably just jinxed that. Probably going to get poured down with rain on him very soon. On Stephen. And a very good first innings. But yeah, it forces results. It's just sometimes England don't quite get on the right side of that result. What's Jonathan's favourite show? The one he likes the most, I would think. And Reed was the one who was going to be buying the PS4. Or sorry, buying the game on PS4. What games are coming out soon? I have no idea what games are about at the moment. They always release an Assassin's Creed and a Call of Duty, don't they? So there's probably one of those coming out soon. Where's the Assassin's Creed this year? Is it Assassin's Creed Mirage? Is that the right one? Maybe. I don't know where the Call of Duty one is, though. Nice lead from Steve Smith into the over. 135 for 2. Ollie Pope watching from a very small window. Icing the shoulder. Unfortunately, did end up with the injury when he was. Oh. Okay, so pretty much what happened was Ollie Pope was asked by the umpires to field if he wants to be able to bat at number 3, and he went out there and got injured. So it's a bit of a shame. And that seems like a weird rule, doesn't it? That they're like, to be able to bat, you have to field a certain amount. But I guess I can understand it a little bit. But to send out the injured bloke and then see him get injured more, not what anyone wanted to see there, unfortunately. Usman Khawaja be facing off with, I believe it's going to be Ollie Robinson. Yes, it is continuing on. Seeing as he did have to go with those 2 balls a little bit earlier on, it just made sense. He was going to be bowling a little bit more, already had the warm-ups. I should mention I'm actually watching this on TVNZ Plus now. I went onto my Spark Sport and it was like, hey, Spark Sport, we no longer exist. You can watch the cricket though on this. So yeah, we're on TVNZ Plus here in New Zealand, free to air. Feels pretty special. I haven't actually seen what else is transferred over, but I know that Spark Sport were losing quite a few licenses at the start of July. Yeah, I'm sure that they'll have that message up for maybe about a month, letting people know that they no longer exist, and then that will just be a distant memory. Who's an old grandpa, Reed or Jonathan? Well, based on their ages, I'd say neither of them, unless some dodgy stuff's going on, because I know that both of them, I think, are in their 20s. So unless they're having children when they're about 10 and then their children are having children when they're about 10, yeah, nah, I don't think they'll be grandparents just yet. I'd hope not anyway. Wow, just sitting on 58. 127, quite a few clouds in the sky, moving quickly in the background. And Lords, that's a nice delivery from Robinson, and he is going with that over-the-wicket tactic to Usman Khawaja. Is one that they've found success with in past years in England. Also, out of curiosity, for anyone else who is watching the game, has anyone seen every once in a while, I don't know if it's TVNZ, that's why I'm curious. Have you had every once in a while, like a player will glitch a little bit and get stuck on the screen and then just kind of go like that, and then they go to the frame where they're moving? Is that just a TVNZ thing, or is that a everywhere thing? Do let me know. Nicely blocked by Uzi again. Hasn't been scoring at a hugely quick rate throughout this Ashes series, but he's been scoring a lot of runs. An effective player to have in this Aussie side. Still 5 sessions after this one remaining. Plenty of time for Australia to get themselves quite a nice lead of about that 350, 400. I think they'll go 400. I don't think you can really afford to allow England less than 400, because we know that they can almost score that in a day. Well, that one had a nice bit of swing, bit more pitched up there. I'm watching this game on TVNZ Plus at everywhere, says Brandon. Jonathan is an old grandpa and his boyfriend Lee is a grandma. Okay. Did you ever do like human biology in school, Ollie? Out of curiosity. Now Kawaja hasn't quite got off to the mark too quickly for day 4. Just a leg bite. Oh, nicely caught up with that ball though, whipping it down to the leg side. Under deep fine leg, and he does manage to get himself the single. Oh, hi, Hamish. I see that the great batsman Alan Border has Parkinson's disease. He does. They actually mentioned it just a little bit beforehand, and they were saying about how he missed the Aussie Cricketing Awards due to it, or due to something slightly related to it, I believe it was. But yeah, not ideal for Alan Border. But he's been a part of the commentary team for the Australian. I know he was the Australian Test series. He was there, but has he been doing the Big Bash too? I don't know whether or not they've got him in for the Big Bash. That's actually not too far away from starting up again, probably about 5 months, if not maybe a little bit less. When are you? Says Brandon. When am I? When am I? What time is it on my thingy that I'm watching, or what is the question, Brandon? Do let me know. Anderson now trying to tempt Khawaja with the slightly wider delivery outside of off stump. It was pitched up. Khawaja declines the offer just for now, as he should. It's still early on in the day. The last thing you want is to create those early wickets, similar to what we've actually seen both sides do for the first session of day 2 and day 3, losing 11 wickets in total throughout 2 sessions. Good way to clean up the tail, that is for sure. Just be bowling it aside during a first session. Now, Kawaja, side of off stump again, left alone. What time are you watching? As in, like, what time am I watching till tonight? Or what time am I streaming till tonight? Or, because at the moment it says 10141. If that is also the time that you're talking about, which does come up at the bottom of TVNZ Plus, but I believe that's pretty much where it is live. At the moment, as they did start it at 9:15 here in New Zealand. That's one cool thing, is now that we're on TVNZ, I will actually be able to see the build up to each day. On Spark Sport, you only get 2 minutes, pretty much when the players are next to the field, and then that's it. That's a great drive from Usman Khawaja on the front foot, got the weight going forward. That will be 4 runs down the ground. Anderson looks furious at the moment, but he just hasn't quite been bowling the way we normally see him. Step into the ball, full face of the bat, the DSC. Stuart Broad, unless there was a massive, massive dive off to the left-hand side that was going past him. Largest first boundary of the day. I thought that I was reading at my phone. I thought that was the Springboks announcing their side for next weekend's game against Argentina. I know they normally do it quite early, but not quite this early normally. Said it was the junior box being announced. They are going to be going head-to-head with Argentina, I believe, on Tuesday at 5 a.m. New Zealand time, when that one's going to be taking place. Should mention we will be covering a majority of day 5 on the channel. I believe actually the whole day is the plan. For day 4, I think we're just once again doing that first session. Crowd. Looking hot there at the moment, to be honest. Now that the sun's out, you can actually see kind of those heat, those heat flashes type thing, or the heat lines that you can see on a camera when it's been a little bit hotter. Like, people still wearing the suits, so they are definitely committed to their craft, wearing the suit and tie on a hot day. Currently, the Australians, though, they are sitting on 140 runs. It's going to be left alone again. That'll be the end of the over. 140 for 2 now for Australia. Oh, we've got ads. I've just realised, because I'm on TVNZ, that means I will have ads in between overs rather than the... What do we normally get on Spark? I think we just get the replays and everything along those lines. Did you watch the Warriors game? The Rabbitohs were just too good, 28 to the Rabbitohs 6 for the Warriors, says Kevin. Yeah, they just didn't really find their next gear, did they, the Warriors? Like, they started well, got themselves the first try of the match, and then it just went downhill from there, unfortunately. They just couldn't quite get the momentum flowing. What game should read by on the PS4? What type of games does Reed like? That's probably a good question, because there's a lot of games available on a PS4. I'm going to quickly check to see if my fire's still going. It is slightly. It's actually a big stretch around that green screen. I almost got to the stage where I had to put my feet on the chair and then do like a push-up extended plank around the side, which is why my face is quite red now. I lost all the blood. All the blood flowed to my head. Are you covering the Olympics next year? That is the plan. Probably just the 7 side of things, but we will be doing some Olympic stuff on the channel. But the fire was still going, I can confirm, for anyone who was concerned about it. Actually I stabbed my leg with a piece of wood earlier on today, which was slightly unfortunate. I was chopping it up, a loose splinter, kind of, well, not a splinter, like a decent chunk of the piece pretty much just stabbed into the side of my knee. Solid. Which is actually why we're about a minute late because it started bleeding again, so I had to strap it up. And hey, Hamish, did you hear the Cowboys win over the Tigers? I hadn't heard the result because there were 3 games of the NRL that were happening today, weren't there? But I haven't actually heard about any of those results. So the Cowboys got the win. Who else has been playing? They won't covering swimming more close. I'll be covering the swimming, says Brandon. Nice one. Do you have a favourite stroke out of the 4, Brandon? Well, actually, there's more than 4, isn't there, when you consider like the medley and everything? Cowboys won 74-0. Jeez. Because the Tigers, they aren't ranked too highly, are they? I think they're about maybe, what are they, 15th, 16th? Not ideal, though, for them to lose a game 74-0. The good news about the NRL is, like, no matter what, it's just 2 points to your opposition for the win. There's no bonus points available because or else then I think the Cowboys would have been enjoying at least 1 bonus point from that matchup. The Raiders beat the Titans 26 points to 22. Nice. Their Raiders are somewhere up there too, aren't they, on the table? Does TVNZ have the option to like pop it out? Okay, no, it's not. Never mind. I was seeing if they had the option to like have a floating tab, but they do not. Go on to the NRL. What we got? I think the Raiders are in the top, aren't they? They are 5th. Titans are 10th. Yeah, Tigers in last. That makes sense, unfortunately for them. And yeah, the Cowboys are 9th, so a couple good wins to have. Now tied with the Eels in points, and Broncos lead Dolphins 14 points to 6, says Xavier. What we doing today, says Brandon. For me, today, I assume we're talking today as in earlier today, or what am I doing tomorrow? Those are a lot of balls in front of Usman Khawaja for the defended balls, but yeah, I love your reaction when we won 74-0. Jeez. Yeah, well, 74-0, it's not even close, is it? Like, if it was, let's say, 44-0 or something like that, it's like, okay, it's a one-sided affair. The other team didn't really show up. But then to add an extra, like, the fact you only get 6 points per try, that's an extra 5 converted tries on top of losing 44-0 already. So that is a lot of tries. You know how big of a Cowboys fan I am, so you would have been absolutely loving that one. At any point during that game where you're like, it's a bit too one-sided, like, were you kind of hoping they'd put up, like, a bit more of a fight? Or were you just like, "Nah, I'm happy enough. A win's a win." Earlier today before interviews and after interviews. So far today, I've done quite a bit of editing. I've been working on one of the GoPro cricket videos because I wanted to release one of them during the Ashes, and I've been slightly delayed with quite a few other things that I've been editing. That is a brilliant cover drive from Steve Smith, and that'll be another 4 runs for him. But yeah, so I've been editing most of the day with the GoPro cricket video. I'm hoping to get the rest of it done later on tonight, fingers crossed. And then also alongside that, well, I've been editing something else other than the GoPro cricket as well, which is what I was doing in between interview and now. Just getting a little bit more of it done. Also just doing stuff around the house, really. Now I'm happy enough. They deserve it after that 66-18 win. Now Anderson, a little bit straighter with that delivery, doesn't give Steve Smith the option of being able to drive it outside of the off stump. I wonder how many ads they're going to have on TVNZ. I assume it's like every maybe 15 minutes or so, maybe every 3 overs you get an ad. The last one had William Shatner in it. So far for Usman Khawaja in this Ashes series, he's got an average of 95 shot down the ground from Steve Smith. Jimmy Anderson, he tried to stick the foot out to stop it, but just the offside mid-off drive. He's looking like he's in good nick again here. Smith moving up to 19 runs now. And yeah, just over pitched. Steve Smith gets to it nicely. Anderson was willing to put the foot on the line. and just outside of the toe. Do you like interviews than last time, says Brandon? Oh, I thought that was off the edge. No, he's found a gap again, Steve Smith. That's going to be 4 more runs. I don't even think he's got to the stage how he's just like, we're going to be a bit more aggressive. I think this is just how he's been scoring at the moment, Steve Smith. That if it's a bad ball, he's going to go after it. There were 2 dots, 3 boundaries so far in this over, and that is 12 runs coming off this Jimmy Anderson. I don't know if he's going to be playing the third test. I'll be honest. I thought it was a surprise that he was playing the second. But currently, I don't know, the Aussie bowlers, or sorry, the Aussie batsmen have just been kind of picking him apart a little bit. I can't believe it though. I was on the verge of annoying my aunt, uncle, mum, and dad, says Xavier. Last ball of the over. Can he finish it with a wicket? No. Solid from Steve Smith. No run taken into the over. And it is 153 for 2. So a very useful over as it then makes it 153. And the lead of 244 wasn't the under-20s dismal against France. Says Mumbo Jumbo. Well, could ask the question about the whole Southern Hemisphere, couldn't you? I don't think a single Southern Hemisphere side won a game. South Africa, they were beaten. New Zealand, they were beaten. Australia beaten. Fiji beaten. Argentina beaten. It wasn't looking good, was it? But, you know, the good news is there's still going to be a few of those sides who make their way through to the quarterfinals. I think the Kiwis just let France get too far ahead early on. They were down 21-0. Second half, they fought back quite well, I thought, with the situation they had in the game. But and just trying to stop that big man Tuolangi seemed to be just too much of a task for them. Which, I mean, is probably fair enough because, I mean, when you have 145 kg 18-year-old from Samoa running at you, she's not going to be a very easy task to stop him. But, yeah, I think it will definitely be an interesting last round that's happening on Tuesday to see how the teams end up going. Me, Sebastian, have chat after interview. He likes my voice, likes how I'm doing very good, says Brandon. Yeah, he did pop in, didn't he, to have a bit of a chat during it, and it's nice to hear that he called in afterwards as well. Shorter ball there from Robinson. I think Tong's still going to be the more dangerous of the bowlers. The way that he was able to pick up wickets in the first innings was very impressive. Same with this innings. He's already got himself one a bit earlier on. Got the LBW. Just gets that ball to skid on quite nicely. Hey, so they're going to the short ball tactics here for England by the sounds of it, from what Nessa's saying in the commentary box. Robinson's going to have to try and bang these into the pitch. No, he went with a big full Yorker and just being able to chop that one out of Usman Khawaja. And those two have had a weird rivalry throughout this Ashes series. Usman Khawaja, I just heard him say hard to see. I think that might be because of the lights. But yeah, that was clearly him saying it's hard to see. I don't know if he was, I assume he was telling Smith that because of quite a lobby bit of a dip on the ball. Solid again by Usman Khawaja. Smith's moved up to 23. Khawaja on 63. So these two building up quite a nice partnership after the last wicket fell yesterday. Saw the first one of Warner, then Labuschagne was dismissed. Next to the crease will be Travis Head, who we know can score runs in a quick hurry if needed for the Australians, because the tricky part for them is deciding when the right time is to set that declaration, or to, I guess, well, they'll know when the right time is if they've been bowled out, of course. But yeah, when do you declare up against this English side? Do you set them 400 or is that too little? It depends on how many sessions you're willing to give them and how many sessions you feel it will take to bowl them out. Recently, in that first innings, England didn't hit 80 overs, but you would allow them probably at least 80 or 90 for the final day of a test match. So you might put them in for 10 overs tonight, I would say. Might not be a bad idea, or about 6 or 7 overs tonight. See if you can pick up that late wicket in the day. Now be 154 for two, though. Past 2 weeks have been record breaking. Sydney Swans defeated West Coast 205 to 34. Then the Cowboys break the AFL or ARL NRL record. Our record is 91, Canterbury 6 in 1935. The week after that, Canterbury would lose 87 to 7 to Sydney. Watch back when I cut out, says Brandon. Yeah, it did cut out for a good few minutes, didn't it? I was sitting there all alone. Oh. Jimmy Anderson going off and Tong coming into the attack. And they're thinking maybe he's going to go with some bounces here. Although I'd like to see him pitch that ball up a little bit. Definitely to Usman Khawaja, because he's shown that he can be effective. If that ball seams, can get it to go either way. Like they've said, look the most troubling from around the wicket. Hasn't got too bad of a first-class career record either here, Josh Tong. Uzi Tun, well, at the moment, he's looking pretty solid. He's 36 away, so he's still a wee way, but if he doesn't get his 100, I think it's because he goes out before he gets to 80. That seems like quite a wide margin, but I think if he doesn't get to 80 runs, well, of course, he's going to not get to 80 and he'd be out. But I think once he makes it past 80, he's going to go on to get that 100. He just needs to get to that 20 remaining. We have to give ourselves at least 4 sessions to bowl them out, says Peter. Yeah, so it means that Australia really have only got about maybe 3 hours, 3.5 or so. You know, you goofed up when you get out against Travis Head. Yeah, right. Head did well. It wasn't luck, says Xavier. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know what it is, but they don't seem to rate Travis Head's bowling. But I feel like, to be honest, like I know you wouldn't play him for Nathan Lyon in terms of a spinner, but like he's a decent off spinner. Like he didn't just get 1 wicket, he got 2 in that first innings. In fact, he might have gotten 3. And he's a very solid option as a spinner. Like we've seen him do that in the BBL. He was doing a little bit of bowling a while ago, but like he isn't the worst spin either, you know, and rated part-time spin bowler. And not if their last 4 wickets can last 1 second. Oh, sorry, 1 session. Is Deegan. Yeah, like he's a solid part-time spinner. And I said it, I think it was last year. I said that for me, I know that they probably wouldn't because he's a number 5, but I would call Travis an all-rounder. And I know that some people are like, "No, why would you?" Like, he doesn't bowl enough to be an all-rounder, but, like, if he was given more time, I think if he was given more overs to bowl, he would take more wickets. I guess that's just scientific normally though, isn't it? He's better than Root or Ali, says Deegan. Well, the good news at the moment compared to Ali is, like, his finger's working, but then it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, like, Nathan Lyon, this will be an interesting stage, that final innings, because you don't normally see Australia without Nathan Lyon. Baby is getting some sunscreen on the face. It is not liking it one bit. Now, Tong, final ball of his over. Another short ball. Waja looks a little bit confused about why they bothered with that over, or the way that they attempted that one. They decided to go with plenty of short stuff. Usman Khawaja trying to perhaps buy that wicket or try and get them a little bit more indecisive, sorry. Run rate currently 2.4, 2.91 in fact. See, that seems a little bit low compared to what they had in that first innings. But that might have been because David Warner was being quite aggressive at times. And also, I mean, Travis Head can help it out quite nicely. I missed it when Lyon injured himself. Was it fielding? Yeah, I believe it was a calf strain while in the field. So he was on crutches the last I heard, and it sounded like he was going to be missing this test match, which is why it's hugely beneficial if the Australians can get to a 350 lead without Lyon even having to look like going to the crease, which I don't think they'd send him out there anyway, unless they were extremely desperate. But yeah, I don't see it happening. Amalia said, "Hi, welcome in, mate. Hope you're doing very well." 23 runs off 37 deliveries for Smith. Another short ball. I think this is going to take a lot more out of Johnny Bairstow and the bowlers than it is out of the Australians, but it may work in their favour to be able to sneak a wicket. Cannot afford to pitch it up though, because I can see that Steve Smith, if he goes with the on drive, do very nicely. Are they allowed bat sub for Lyon? I don't believe so. I think the only way you can have a batting sub is if the batter was concussed, similar to what we saw for Steve Smith, and actually the 2019 Ashes. Oh, another short ball. Steve Smith gets out of the way of it. With these skilled players, they just make avoiding the short ball look so easy. Though with Robinson, he is only getting them down there at 130 compared to a couple of the other bowlers who do get them down there just that little bit quicker. I am curious to know if he's going to go aggressive here, Steve Smith, though. Right, looks like they're bringing up Joe Root. Just changing it, giving him the option of going over the top if he wants to here for the short ball. Or was it a double bluff? Another short ball. Goes after it. Steve Smith manages to find a gap, but does get it to Harry Brook in the deep. Relatively close to hitting it straight to Ben Stokes. Steve Smith, he controlled that one pretty nicely. It bounced maybe about 2 or 3 times before works to Ben Stokes. Kawaja back on strike. I need to be 140 to 50k to be threatening short ball. Yeah, or at least getting some good bounce off the seam. That's one good thing about Robinson is his height. So that will help out, but he still needs to get it up to about that 135 with that height to really trouble these batsmen. Like, it works against the tailwinders, but, you know, they're not looking too uncomfortable, although that shot from Kawaja looked a little bit uneasy. He's staring down someone. He's got a bit of a smile on his face. Okay, he's talking to the umpire there, saying that maybe that was the third one for the over. He just did the tee. He wants to go upstairs for it. Robinson again. 3 balls bowled so far for this over, and that one is short. Is that going to be called as short? What we got? Okay, the umpire had his hand down, so he didn't go up for an above shoulder height, but nice bouncer from Robinson. That was getting up there a little bit. If England bat carefully, maybe chase 300, says Deegan. So you're thinking 300's the maximum the Aussies can get for England to have a chance, or is that just where you think they'll be more comfortable? I guess that's probably a good question, ladies and gentlemen. Do answer it in the chat. What do you feel is the highest number that England can chase down in this test match when it comes to trying to get the runs? For me, anything over 350 in a final innings is normally right there on the verge of extremely difficult. Anything under 300's definitely doable, but for that to happen, Australia have to have a monumental collapse here over the next little while. Another short ball from Robinson, and that'll be the end of the over. It's going to be 156 for 2. Already 41 minutes through the session. I think that's because they started 5 minutes late, though, so we're actually only about 35. I reckon is 400, or record is 400 batting last, says Deegan. Yeah, so it makes it very tricky, doesn't it? I mean, we've seen a lot of sides attempt that 400 before, but just a day 5 pitch just hits that little bit differently. And England are capable of chasing down 400 in the final innings, says Peter. Well, one benefit they've got is they wouldn't allow the number to get into their head, if that makes sense. Normally, when you're batting and you're scoring maybe 2 or 3 and over, you're like, okay, we're looking more like a draw here. But for England, they'll be scoring maybe 4 or 5, if not sometimes 6 and over, and they'll be like, okay, we're just ticking this number down, progressing it a lot quicker. Steve Smith, hooking that one to the leg side. 137 Ks here for Tong. So both bowlers bowling short here to the Australians. This tactic, I think it's more of a conservative way of doing it, I guess you could say. They're hoping that either the Australians will get frustrated with the lack of runs and maybe hit them a catch. At least 2 or 3 key batters need tons or close, says Deegan. Another short ball. Steve Smith works it down very nicely. The man at deep fine leg. Almost 142 K, so a little bit quicker there from Tong. I reckon 410, says Xavier in there as well. Who was it that almost chased down the record, or at least made us think that the record was going to be broken recently? Can anyone remember? Was it? I know that India were going to have to chase down a record total, but they lost a lot of wickets in a hurry. That might have actually been at the start of day 5. We thought, okay, with the final day setting up, they've got a chance, and then just the wickets fell. That's going to be worked by Khawaja. 2 bounces. Going to the man at deep fine leg. Yeah, at the moment, it just this is an interesting tactic. I think I've said that about 15 times, but I don't know whether I like it or not. I feel like it's lacking some aggression for England, if that makes sense. Like, it's aggressive bowling bounces, but not to 2 set batsmen who seem like they're going to be working those ones to the leg side quite nicely. Another short ball. Steve Smith gets on top of the bounce. Fielded by Ben Duckett, and the Australians take another single. They won't be minding this one bit, just being able to tick it over. England can get themselves a wicket here soon, though. Maybe that helps them, but for now, it's just a case of how many runs do Australia want to keep ticking over. 400 plus. It's been chased down 4 times. Any team with Joe Root in it can chase down 400, but it will be one of the greatest run chases of all time, says Peter. And didn't Australia successfully chase down 500 on day 4 and 5? Oh, that stayed low. Khawaja tried to duck underneath it, and it didn't really carry the way that they thought it would. Doesn't Wendy's hold that highest successful test last innings chase record? It was about, was there one as well a little while ago, which was in a non-international, or it was an international game, but it was by a side that no one had really heard of. Oh, that wasn't really controlled by Khawaja, but once again works it away to the boundary. Does Windies hold that highest? Oh no, I read that one, didn't I? Lara was in it. Yeah, there's one from ages ago, isn't there? We're gonna do a Google one moment. I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna go like this and like that. Highest test chase highest test successful test run chase. That's the one we want. The West Indies 418. So that was 2003. So yeah, that stayed low. Nicely shot to the leg side by Khawaja, though. Well fielded in the deep from Josh Tong. Keeps it to 2. And then there was South Africa in 2008. 403. 414 that was. 404 chased down by Australia in 1948. 403 by India in 1976. The last big successful run chase was actually 2022, we'll go with, or 2021 from the Windies, 395. But the one before that was 378. And that was actually India versus England, and England were able to chase it down. Other than that, though, I haven't seen a huge amount of recent ones. Have we seen any in 2023? What's the biggest run chase 2023, New Zealand versus Sri Lanka. So that was not too long ago. I am going to need to blow my nose because I sneezed. I've been sneezing a lot today. I don't know why. I feel like the conditions aren't sneezing weather. Like it was raining before, so I don't know where the sneezing side of things has actually come from. Another short ball. John Robinson, highest successful fourth innings chase of all time in the men's test cricket as of May 2023. Hay fever. Yeah, although it's almost the middle of winter, isn't it? You know? So it seems weird to get hay fever here. When do you think Australia will declare? I think second session of today, they'll have a heavy, heavy think about it. That was a big swing from Kawaja going after the short ball again. But yeah, I don't think they'll. If they do bat into the last session, I would say they'll only bat halfway through it. But then you can't really afford to not allow yourselves enough time to create a chance of winning. But then you question, will Australia be happy enough to draw this one, seeing as they're 1-0 up? I think England will struggle to chase more than 300. Might have to rely on the typical English summer and hope it rains, says Simon Wood. See, that's the thing. There's plenty of time left, isn't there? So, we saw a little bit of rain last night. I think it was the day 2 or day 1 that we had a little bit of rain as well. I think it might have been day 2. Was it day 1? No, it might have actually been. It was one of the early days anyway. I remember we were covering it on the channel. We weren't sure if they were going to be continuing. That might have been actually day 1 now that I think about it. Rain could play into it. Says Deegan, I know that the worst looking day out of all of them was actually supposed to be on Thursday. But that seemed to be most of the rain actually happened before. Although those guys are all looking up at the sky now. I don't know what Bairstow's looking at. In fact, I don't know what Kawaja's looking at too. There's is there a bird or something? Everyone's interested in it though, whatever it was. They're still looking at it. What is it? Is it a bird or what? Why is everyone looking up at this? Is there a plane? What are they all looking at? Everyone's looking up. Bolly Robinson's looking up. What's in the sky? Is there a kite? Is it a hot air balloon? Whatever it is, they're still waiting. Was it a plane? I assume it was a plane. They didn't show it though. Everyone was just looking up. Another short ball, nicely worked by Kawaja to the man Ben Duckett there. I think before the start, I played day 1, says Simon Wood. Yeah, they did have a little bit, didn't they? And then they had about maybe 30 minutes that they missed during the session, and 350 to 400. I think Australia can defend and get a win, says Deegan. And a UFO, says Deegan. Maybe that's why they didn't show it. Weren't allowed to. Yeah, whatever it was, everyone was looking at it for quite some time. I think Lords is near an airport. Maybe? Oh, another short ball. He's actually backing away there, Usman Khawaja. I give him maybe that double bluff, but that'll be the end of the over. 163 for 2 now. Doesn't seem like there's too many problems out there for the Aussies now, though. They're trying to get through the overs as quickly as possible. Not even a chat between Steve Smith and Usman Khawaja. Just a quick fist bump, and they were back to their crease, ready to go for the next one. Looks like Tong again is going to continue. That camera has 3, or that phone has 3 cameras. How many cameras are on current phones, ladies and gentlemen? I know that I think Apple or Samsung ones have like 4 cameras now. My phone kind of has one. I think a microphone on the back. Hey, when I picked it up, it made a noise, but that was because I got a notification at the same time. But yeah, I've always been a one phone camera guy. I haven't really had a fancier phone that has like a spider looking at you Airport is a long way from Lords. Although you'd assume that at some stage planes would fly over relatively close, wouldn't they? Now, Tong, another short ball. Oh, Bairstow misses that. They're going to manage to get themselves the bye. I feel like I'm about to sneeze again. One moment. I am back. Just talking about Steve Smith, the way that he faces the bouncers and just manages to get out of the way while making it look easy. I think Ponting's saying that it's because of the pre-movement that he actually gives himself more time to be able to duck down. Hello back, says Aronius. Welcome in, mate. You are doing very well. Who do you think's going to win? Do you think England are going to be able to get the comeback? Oh, Johnny's just missed another bouncer. It's not good from the English there because their tactic, I believe, at the moment is to either try and buy the wicket or try and cut down on those runs being scored. And to give away 5 buys in this over, that's not going to help. I would not think. I'm talking about maybe it's because Tong's a little bit quicker, but it just seems like it's not quite going into Bairstow's gloves. That's another one down the leg side. Bairstow lines up that one. Why not change your name to or by D Pole when it's currently back? Why not change your name by D Pole when it's currently back? I have no idea what that means, Hronis. I'm sorry. I feel like there's something I'm missing, and I apologise for that. But yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you think Australia will declare at the end of the session just so we can see an England win? Well, in that case, no. Because if they declared at the end of the session, it would mean that, like you've said, there'd be a high chance that England would have enough time to be able to work in. I came in, and your first words were, I'm back, as in a name. Is that because you said hello back, or because I leaned in and said I'm back? Maybe. I'm still slightly confused, but I know kind of what time you're talking about now. Robinson, spelled 15 overs, only gone for 2 runs and over, sitting on 30. Steve Smith also very close to the 30 mark, sitting on 26 off 44 deliveries. Oh, swatting that one away, Steve Smith. He was angry about it there. I don't even know what to call that shot. It was almost like a tennis spike. He tried to swat it down like this. It was as if he was casting a fishing rod there, Steve Smith. Playing a tennis shot, like they've said, because Robinson, he's trying to bowl. It's a great shot in some regards. What do you think he means? Has changed your name to Settle? Dad joke, I'm implying your name is back. I see. Okay. I was trying to think of a cricket joke that I heard the other day, but now I can't remember it, unfortunately. But they're talking about the fact that Steve Smith was practicing the shot on his back while lying on the ground. Good evening, Hamish. Says, Rooster, welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing very well. How many overs has Robinson bowled in this spell? I believe he's up to about his 6th now. Or maybe 5th. I think 5th, but then he had the 2 balls at the start. Can we see, or can see why the Poms need the wickets to catch up? And yes, I don't know squat about cricket, but like stop now and then when the cricket is on. So besides, well, it is very good to have you here, mate, for the cricket. Yeah, wicket's crucial for England at the moment because they're just they're giving up the runs a little bit easy at the moment. In Australia, they aren't scoring at a hugely quick run rate. Sorry for the confusion. I gorged that my Kiwi cousins can be a little slow. I'm going to refrain from what I was going to say after that because it's gone over the top. It's going to be 4 more runs. You're trying to make a cricket joke, but you need DRS, the dummy remembering system, says Xavier. And guess it's a maiden brainwave, says Rooster. That is a good shot from Usman Khawaja. If he hadn't timed it, could have been a chance of a wicket, but it goes over the top of Ben Duckett. I feel like at the moment the Aussies are just kind of teasing England a little bit. They're playing a few shots in the air going, hey, if you had a fielder there, you could get us out, but because you don't, we're going to give you a couple boundaries scored against your bowlers. Partnership now moves up to 50 runs of 105 balls. Another short ball, and it's a drop catch, I believe, for Johnny Bairstow. That one has also just gone over the top. I think Khawaja hit it into his shoulder. What do they call it as? Are they going to call it as buys? He's given the run to Khawaja, so that is a dropped catch from Johnny Bairstow. Top ear John to the shoulder, I think, is what happened here for Bairstow. Oh, bottom ear John to the elbow. And then just over the top of Bairstow, unable to take it. It was a good effort from him, but still, unfortunately for England, does count as a drop catch. Another short ball now, worked down to deep third man by Steve Smith. Bairstow having an absolute howler this series, says Simon Wood. He hasn't looked too flash with the gloves on. Is Folkes currently still injured? Is he? Because I assume once Folkes is match fit, they would have him in there, but it's hard to tell. Because I think they back Bairstow as one of their batsmen too. But yeah, the way that he threw his wicket away in that last innings makes you wonder whether or not Folkes would be that better option as a keeper if he is match fit. Relatively still there at Lords at the moment. A few clouds in the sky in the background, but looks like there's some blue sky scattered throughout there as well. I thought Folkes was fit. Yeah, so it's surprising to see that they haven't decided to give him a crack to a certain extent. Just because when you're looking at the difference in how Alex Carey was keeping in that first test compared to how Johnny Bairstow was, it was pretty much a league of their own type thing in terms of the difference. Even in the way that Alex Carey was taking the catches, letting it come to him rather than Bairstow who had it here just slapping off the hand and dropping down. Do you think Stokes will bowl from one end and Broad from the other, says Ahmad? It's a combination they might have to try soon. Either that or I think we might even see a little bit of root coming in. They've got 22 overs until the new ball. So they might end up saving Stewart. Oh, no, I take that back. I think they'll give Stewart Broad a crack soon. Then from there, they'll probably rest him for a few extra overs and then stick him in with the new ball. Try and see if he can get it right. I thought Folkes was fit when I read that one tonight. It also predicted for the Rugby Championship, Aussies wildcard, All Blacks favourites. I don't know if the Kiwis are favourites, to be honest. I would think, in fact, I'm going to do a quick Google. I would have thought South Africa are favourites for the Rugby Championship. They've got 2 out of 3 home games. The only away game that they've got is up against the Kiwis. Although the Kiwis have also got the 2 out of the 3. But yeah, for me, I'd almost have South Africa as favourites for the Rugby Championship. I'll have a look, though. Rugby Championship, outright. And, no, fair play. New Zealand are actually considered favourite. $1.65 compared to South Africa, $2.75. I find that surprising. Interesting stuff. Bairstow is a much better batter. and they back him to not be a terrible keeper, says Horonis. I think the biggest problem at the moment is his batting's been decent, but his keeping has not been decent in some regard. Like he's taken a couple good catches, but most of the good catches that he's taken are what you would call pretty much just stock standard keeper catches. Like whereas a couple of those slightly harder chances, or some would say a couple of the easy chances as well, he hasn't been able to convert into the wicket. But I mean, people have talked about it whether or not Bairstow could find himself as a position up the order more, but I think both Crawley and Duckett are playing too well to lose their spot at the top of the order for Johnny Bairstow. So there's no real player that you could take out of their side because Brooks been playing well enough. You got Root. You've got who else have they got near that top of the order? Stokes comes in at. Does Stokes come in at 5 or 6? I think he comes in at 5, doesn't he? So yeah, there's not really any gaps that you can find. If he keeps up the drops, he'll be as well eventually, says Horonis. See, that was a better joke than your back one. I'll give you that. I've forgotten. I keep forgetting anyway that we have got ads on this one compared to the other one that I used to watch it on. Seeing as now some sport, fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, some sport is free here in New Zealand, which is absolutely fantastic to see. I think it's going to continue that way as well in the near future. Plenty more action coming. Robinson will continue his spell, so this will be about the 6th over now. Another short ball. Steve Smith works it to the leg side, gets one. Thank you, says Horonis. No worries. And the main question is if Folks comes in, do England leave Bairstow or Brook out? See, for me, I'd leave Bairstow out because Harry Brook, like he hasn't really done too much wrong, has he, throughout this Ashes series? What's what Bairstow and Stokes are bad order, says Deegan. It is an option. Maybe you look at having Bairstow in there as a number 5 and then Stokes, Folks, and then you'd have Broad, Robinson, a spinner I would have liked to see, of course, but nicely done by Kawaja again. Maybe they do get themselves the one, and it's my duty to tease you as an Aussie, says Horonis. Wait, are you Australian, Horonis? You're not Australian, are you? You're English. I'm not Australian either. Mark Wood needs to be in. I think he'd be a good option, although I heard that he had a little bit of an injury, which was why he was left out of this test match now. I'll swap Bairstow and Stokes batting order. Another pull shot. They're just rocking back at the moment here, the Aussies. Was that a high-pitched squeal from Steve Smith when he thought he was going to get hit there? Perth, says Horonis. I'm Aussie. Okay. See, I was confused for a second. I thought that you were saying that you had to tease me because I was Aussie. And no, I've only been to Aussie a few times. I'll give you one thing. Your mangoes are much better than Peru's. Yeah, there was a high-pitched little from Steve Smith. Nicely done by Kawaja again. They're just working this around the ground very nicely at the moment, Australia. My dad is Kiwi, so it heightens the teasing, says Horonius. Greek roots? Me Greek? I'm not Greek, no. I assume he's talking Horonius there. I don't actually know. I think I'm like 187th Scottish or something. Maybe, if I'm lucky. I don't actually know where I'm originally right back in the day from. I actually took part in a Scottish games, though, back at primary school and won the tug of war with the dream team that I put together. I think we got a certificate for winning it, which I felt was a bit rough, seeing as we dominated the comp. So you're half Kiwi? No, says Horonius. Can England chase down 350 or 400 down? 350, a lot more likely than the 400. 400 gets you right up there into the hard zone, doesn't it? But we know that England can score 400 runs in a day. So that's where Australia will have to keep in mind that they can't afford to give England too much time at the crease because they might be able to use that to their advantage. Another short ball. Nicely played by Steve Smith. This is just practice at the moment for the Aussies to face the short stuff. Smith and Kawaja doing it quite easily at this current point in time. Nicely done again. England is capable of chasing 400, but it would be one of the best run chasers of all time, says Peter. And to be fair, with how that first Ashes Test match went, it wouldn't surprise me if we get a few records or something broken throughout this Ashes series between these two teams because, that first Ashes Test, it went down to the wire. Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon, brilliant partnership between them. And yeah, I've worked out that Cummins has scored more than 100 runs so far throughout this Ashes series in 3 innings, which is pretty impressive for a man who's batting about number 8, I think he is, in the Aussie lineup. In fact, yeah, I think he's batting 9 now with Stark returning. Another short ball, another duck there from Kawaja. And against Australia bowling attack, it'll be harder than other opposition except India, maybe. Says Deegan. Yeah, they don't really stray their line too massively. One benefit England will have is I don't think Nathan Lyon will be bowling. And that can be hugely impactful. But, Travis Head in that first innings, he showed that he's decent enough, got himself a couple wickets. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting final day. 0. Says Ronis. Oh, Kawaja just not quite getting that one right for the short ball. What is the chances of an England win? I mean, the live odds have them at about, I think it's like 2% or something like that. So it's not hugely high, but, if it comes down to having one day to chase down 375, you'd back them in terms of being able to score the runs at the right run rate. It's just whether or not they can avoid losing the wickets alongside that. A Tong again. A little bit full of that one. Straight to the man at short cover, Ollie Robinson. Talking about the fact that as a junior, you get a little bit worried about getting hit with the ball, which I can attest to that because I once took part in a tournament, and I think I told the story yesterday, but I took part in a tournament, pretty much faced quite a quick bowler, and I ended up getting hit in the jaw with the ball, which then made me fall backwards, and then my bat hit the wicket, so then I was out, unfortunately. But luckily not knocked out, so that was good news. But yeah, took it on the chin, went, oh, and then fell backwards onto the stumps. Not ideal. That is the good thing about back then, though, is there weren't many cameras around. Whereas in nowadays, we would have had 15 angles of the thing. Definitely because we would have been having a helmet cam for it as well. Smith sitting on 31 off 56 deliveries. No helmet. No, I had a helmet. It just, with the angle that my head was at, went underneath the grill and kind of bounced steeply up underneath. We were playing on an artificial wicket as well, so they're normally pretty, great work from Bairstow to be able to cut that one off and keep it to just the one by. Less than 5% from here, says Peter. But yeah, normally, your grill would help you a little bit, but yeah, it got up underneath and went boom, side of the jaw. Similar, or not hugely similar to the Stuart Broad one from yesterday, but he kind of turned his head and got hit here, whereas mine just went straight up underneath and got me there. Do you think Ollie Robinson will take a break from bowling now? It will depend on what the situation is going with Stuart Broad. I've seen a ball go between visor and helmet before. Yep. That's the thing. Some of those visors aren't actually measured correctly. Like, you look at the gap, and even with a gap about, let's say, that big, if your ball's misshapen, it can actually still go through. And that looks like a bigger gap on camera, I think, than it actually is with my fingers. But yeah, if the ball goes sideways or like gets kind of slammed through it, it can actually get in there. 10 to 20% max England win probability of that. Absolute max, says Deegan. And the Kiwi lad says Reed. Hello, Reed. Into the 61st over, 183 for 2 now. Australia leading by 274, and it looks like they are going to be having the drinks break. Maybe. Yep, it is. Going to be taking the drinks break now. Max is still less. There's Horonius. Last ball of the day, 5:30 a.m. I know that on the last day of the last test, they actually went a little bit longer than anticipated. I think they went till about 6:15 a.m. New Zealand time. We actually did end up covering that whole day through, which was quite a bit of fun. And just watching ads at the moment, quite enjoying them. But yeah, I think England, they need to try a new tactic. Maybe give Joe Root the ball for, I'd say give him 5 overs. Solid 5 overs to try and get that wicket. Because if you're looking to try and buy a wicket, a spinner's a pretty good option because you've got the chance of a stumping. You've got maybe LBW if it stays low and skids on. You got, I mean, you're going to leak singles anyway, but at this stage, they're leaking singles and the occasional boundary with the short stuff. So I would have Robinson take his spot away, unless you're going to go maybe you'd have Broad for 3 or 4 overs. Are you England? We'll revert back to 2020, 2021. Ashes batting, collapse incoming. There's Aronius in there as well. Well, that's the thing. We don't often see England in the position of chasing a test match in the final session. Normally it's the other way around and they're trying to get those last couple wickets. It's quite interesting to see how much of a difference it is with this English side compared to what we saw in Australia not too long ago. Looks like Tactical just chatting at the moment. Stokes having a chat to Stuart Broad. Sorry, 2021, 2022. There's Horonius. Just showing day 4 so far. There's been some very nice shots from both Khawaja and Steve Smith. Now, Khawaja's on 76, and I did say earlier on that if we see Khawaja get to 80, I believe he's getting 100. That is, of course, unless they declare beforehand, but I don't think they would with the amount of runs that they're leading. So he's got the next 4 to go out. If he gets to 80, I think he's going to convert it to that century again. Is the wicket doing much, though? Doesn't seem to be. There was a bit in it. The problem, I think, is there's never going to be a huge amount in a wicket that you're bowling half trackers on. You know, you're not really giving it the chance to seam too much. You're not really, there was a bit of swing for Jimmy Anderson. He just put it in the wrong place. He was bowling half volleys outside off stump, but they were moving a bit. So, I'd like to see Joe Root have a couple overs, see if maybe a little bit of spin does work. They haven't actually tried him at all yet. But yeah, I'd love to see him have a crack very soon. Like I've said once, Australia get leading by 300, runs become a bonus. Here's Stuart Broad. So yeah, that was one of 2 tactics they could have gone with. The other option at the other end, I believe, will be Tong for another 2 or maybe 2 or 3 overs. That might be too long for the quick, so maybe a couple less. But the problem they've got at the moment is normally Anderson's the guy you hand the new ball. But I don't think they want to hand him the new ball at the moment because he doesn't seem to quite be getting it right. And Stokes have a crack. Says Deegan. Stokes is half broken, says Horonius. Is he even not half broken, Ben Stokes, at the moment? I think the man just plays that hard and tries that hard that he is just constantly getting injured. I mean, I can use a comparison that is in no way similar, but also kind of. Okay, there's a no ball now from Stuart Broad. That doesn't help. That's an extra run for the Aussies. Single off that first ball as well. But for me, during my cricket season, I am in no way saying that I am Ben Stokes. I just want to very heavily clarify that. But I think it was about 3 weeks into playing, I ended up pretty much popping my groin or pulling my groin. I'm not sure what I did to it. I never got it checked, which I probably should have. But then from there, each and every week, I would end up hurting the groin again, if that makes sense. So I never quite got to the stage of being able to run around without it popping. Did you guys just see my lights flicker? I think that's from the bad weather that we've got at the moment. Currently blowing a gale. Hopefully the roof stays on. But yeah, I kept on re-injuring the groin, and it will probably happen next season as well. I think I just got a very tight one. I think Stokes, it was his knee a lot of last year as well that kept on giving him more trouble each and every time he tried to use it. Broad, another short ball, well played by Steve Smith. And Lowell says Deegan and pulling your groin, you naughty boy. Says Erroneous. Now, this pulling of the groin was a lot less fun, I do have to say. It was just pretty much any time I ran. Although it's not as bad as what I did in the last game that we were playing. We were playing a T20. We were actually going to be playing two T20s in a day. But unfortunately, during the first T20, I went for a diving catch and unfortunately dropped it. But I also ended up either breaking or dislocating my finger. Once again, didn't get it checked. Probably should have. But I was learning the other day that that finger is a lot more wonky than the finger on the other hand, which is quite interesting. I don't know whether or not you can see it's this finger. So this one, it's pretty much straight up and down. That is the finger on my right hand. And then the left hand finger, it's this one. And it's really not, I don't know if you can see the difference, but it's a lot more bent down in there. And that's because I pretty much broke or snapped it around that way. And then just kind of kept playing. Although I wasn't able to bat because I couldn't actually bend it. So that was a shame because T20s are fun. We lost both of those. No, we won one. I lie. We actually have some of it on the GoPro to release that at some stage. What happened to Broad? He used to be as skinny as a twig, says Bob Locke. I think it's just, age. It happens. He's still not like, I wouldn't call him large. What's happened here? Everyone's looking up at the sky again. Either a bird is being annoying. It might actually be a drone, perhaps, that's above the ground, because you can see someone in the background going like this. Long way away. Behind him, I don't know what it was. I got a very tight one in reference to your groin. Oh, that's a chance. No, I might have just hit the shoulder. Yeah, like a tight groin. You know how like people have like tight calves? You feel like you can't really stretch it too much without it hitting its maximum stretchage. That's the same as me. Oh, that was almost a top edge from Kawaja. I think it just hit him on the shoulder. Yeah, but yeah, like pretty much for my groin, as soon as I try and take a big stride, if I was running, it ends up pretty much, popping, and then I can't get it back into place. Is this going to be out? Yes, it is. Kawaja is dismissed on 77. I said it. I said if he goes out before 80, he's out. But if he ended up getting 80, he was going to get the 100. But Kawaja now dismissed. They might check the no ball, of course, as they normally do. I'd like to think that he was behind the line, though, Stuart Broad. But the short ball, it's worked. I like the commentary side of things, though. How they're saying the short ball tactic, it worked for Australia, now it's working for England. The reason Australia used it was because it worked for England in the first test match. It bowled like 15 overs of bounces to the tail water, but yeah. Australia now 187 for 3. A good wicket to get early. And Broad picks up his first wicket of the second hour of the first session. Neil Wagner tricks his real sheepdog and sup. Says Amelia, okay, welcome in. You are doing well. I just got back scheduled tomorrow live stream, says Brandon. So hopefully it's all going smoothly for you. I should mention we have got the live stream tomorrow taking place for the Ashes once again. We're hoping to do all of day 5 on the channel. That is the plan anyway. They're just showing all the highlights of what we're going to get to see on TV and Z+. I wasn't paying attention. I did see some rugby, though. I don't know if it was rugby league or whether it was rugby union. I think it was rugby union. So I saw Malani Matavao. No, it wasn't Malani Matavao. It was Valvas Afasua. It was on the screen just before. Also, it's easy to set fields too, especially if you know the English. Just going to attack everything, says Erroneous. Now Travis Head making his way to the middle. Australian who managed to get himself about how many Kawaja went out on in that first innings, 77. Took him a lot less balls, though. He's got the grey nickels in hand. Man after my own heart. It's a wide from Tom. Average length for England so far today has been 9.1 metres. Like they've just said, on average, you'd bowl about 2 or 3. Whoa. Okay, they've just told me some information that I feel like I should relay. So pretty much it's about 2 or 3 metres shorter than they would normally bowl for the English on average. And it's also the shortest that they have ever bowled at Lords throughout a first session up till this point. Big swing from Steve Smith. Once again, way down the lee side, though, from the English. Didn't quite catch up to that one. And even if he had, Johnny Bairstow jumped out of his hands. 14.1 overs bowled by Tong. He has been the pick of the bowlers once again. He's been fantastic for England throughout this test match. Right, I'm getting tired. Finished 12-hour day of work. Have another one tomorrow, says Horonius. So I assume that is you saying goodbye. Are you going to be, what time do you finish tomorrow? Do you think you'll end up catching any of the final day, or do you think you'll end up sleeping so you can start work the day after that as well? Yeah, the times are brutal for you guys in Australia in terms of the final session. I think it's about 3:30 a.m. that they do finish. It's a good take, though, from Matthew Potts, the sub fielder, who's on the field. But Kawaji, you could see that he was disappointed about it. So was Steve Smith. A disappointed look on his face. No work Monday. Oh, so you'll be able to stay up for that late night. Watching the final day. Maybe even the final session if we get to it. That's the thing. It's very hard to tell. Once England are batting, who knows what happens? Maybe we end up seeing, maybe we end up seeing some quick fire wickets. Now Travis Head. They've got Joe Rudin close. Once again, going short. Travis Head, it's gone straight to Jimmy Anderson in the air. It would have been a golden duck, but Anderson has dropped the ball, and that has gone pretty much as straight to Jimmy Anderson as it could have. But England not taking their chances so far. That is the second drop catch of the day. And Travis Head, that would have been him gone early on with the lead of 280. They would have been 4 down straight to him. And Anderson, it goes through the hands. It was chest high. It was right here. And it just bounced straight out. Night chat says Erroneous. We'll see you later on. That's a big mistake. Now any extra runs that Travis Head gets, that's going to be a chance in the end. Steve Smith's thrown away his wicket. And that is going to now be Steve Smith dismissed. This is a weird little session we're about to have, ladies and gentlemen. It always seems to be the second hour of that first session because that's what we've seen multiple times. Steve Smith throwing away his wicket. And now we've got 2 new batsmen at the crease, one of which has just been dropped. Cummins. Looks like he's got a black eye at the moment. What happened to him? Did he get punched in the face? When did Pat Cummins get his black eye, ladies and gentlemen? Do let me know. But just hit it up in the air, Steve Smith. I mean, could you say at a stretch, right? Hear me out. Jimmy Anderson dropping that catch meant that Travis Head got to continue batting and got the single, which then got Steve Smith out. Maybe strategy. I was watching yesterday with Tony. Then got busy. You guys do third session, says Rooster. Nah, we only did the first one for yesterday, but I believe the plan is to do all 3 sessions tomorrow. I think I've also only got first session today, as from after this session is over, I'm going to be doing about 5 hours of editing on our GoPro cricket video and also getting a couple other things done before tomorrow. But I will be having it on the other screen so that I can watch both. Much better wicket to take, says Simon Wood. So, yeah, it's just strategy. Jimmy Anderson knew what he was doing, obviously. You know, Smith just lost concentration, says Peter. And you wonder whether or not that was losing Kawaja, or maybe with the fact that Head could have been out first ball. Now Cam Green makes his way to the middle alongside Travis Head. Now they got him out on the third ball that he faced. See, the thing is, England have just got 2 wickets from bowling short. Are they just going to bowl short this whole innings now? Like, there's a chance that that may take place. Now take advantage of 2 new batsmen. We can keep it near 300 lead, and it's 50-50 game, says Simon Wood. And almost to a certain extent, I would say even 350, I would still say England have a fairish crack, you know, anywhere lower than 350, 330, 340. I'd like to think with the way that they score and the amount of time left, they'd have a crack. But that is why Aussie now, they have to really think about what they're going to do here because they're 4 down. They've lost their top 4 batsmen. They've still got Alex Carey as an option. He will be to the crease next. They've got Stark, Cummins. I don't see them sticking around. Oh, Cummins will probably stick around for a wee while. They might not bat Lyon due to his injury. And 350 is very gettable in 4 sessions. 280 max, says Rooster there. Are you streaming the next session? That is, at this stage, not the plan, unfortunately. We are going to be instead watching it while also editing at the same time. We've got a big night ahead of us. I think if my eyeballs aren't bloodshot by 5 a.m. when I finish my editing and finish watching some cricket, I would be very surprised. But yeah, seems like a good idea. The fire's probably gone out as well, which is an ideal, seeing as it's 2 degrees Celsius at the moment where I am. But we'll fire that up in 30 minutes' time and hope that the fire is revitalised. The end of the over, very good one as well for Tong. Manages to pick up his 2nd wicket. The over before, very handy with Stuart Broad getting one as well. Straight away, they've gone back to the short stuff because, I mean, Cam Green, I think he got 2 bounces. I think Kevin Peterson's just called the batting lineups as what do you say? Dumb, stupid, brainless, I think, were the comments he made about playing the short stuff. Travis Head dodges that one. Talking about that, Steve Smith, slight lack of judgment there. When the short ball, he didn't even try and overhit it, unfortunately. It was a nice catch in the deep from Crawley, though. Head. Oh, that was a little noise as well. Well fielded by Bairstow. Keeps it to a dot ball. Welcome or come to Durban, where 26 degrees Celsius midwinter. That would be quite nice about now, I have to say. Like, yeah, it's not the greatest weather down south where we are, but like, you know, in the summer it's tolerable. We're actually getting closer to that. It's always weird because when you're in the winter, when you get halfway through or so, you're like, oh, I want it to be summer. Then when it's summer and it's hot, you're like, oh, I can't wait for it to be winter. It's just more of the question of do you want to be sweating flat out or do you want to be shaken flat out from being cold? Luckily, I'm neither at the moment. Although I did unfortunately get stabbed today, which sounds weird to say, but I probably need to reiterate the story from earlier on. Pretty much what I was doing was I was chopping up some wood with an axe, you know, whacking into the stuff. And then a slightly, I guess you'd call it a bit of kindling, but like a splintery piece from the wood broke off and shot into the side of my knee and kind of impaled it, which was rather unfortunate because, you know, you don't really want that. So I had to try and patch it up before the live stream, make sure that it didn't bleed in my leg. There's probably too much information. I could have just said I ended up with a little cut on my leg or something, would have been a better story, I would say. Now Cam Green just practicing those shots. Doesn't want to go out early here. Third ball duck is actually what he got in his first innings of this test match. And Broad wouldn't mind making history repeat itself and have it happen again here. Another short ball. It's going to be short stuff all day, I think, unfortunately, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's effective. But is it fun to watch at times? Yes, but is it all the time? Not as I want to see a pitched up delivery every once in a while. Mainly because I want to see what this pitch is doing, and I feel like bowling on an average of 9 meters away from the batsman doesn't really tell you that much in terms of whether it's spinning or anything. Another short ball from Broad, another duck there from Cam Green. Moment. Green just looking cool, calm, and collected currently. Can't go after the wrong ball because the longer that they end up bowling this style, the more it benefits the English because if they're not going for a lot of runs, they'll continue doing it. And I think they'll continue doing it for most of the day. The problem that it will have is it will fatigue their bowlers quicker. They've got hardly any men in front of the square at the moment. There's a man moving around to kind of like a deep backwards square leg, but they've also got a square leg, a mid wicket as well, a leg slip, a leg gully, or a short fine leg, I think you call that. And another short ball. 129 Ks, end of the over, 191 for 4. It's weird, isn't it? Because they've still got 6 wickets in hand, but because of how quickly we have seen 6 wickets fall before in this test match, it feels like it's not a mile off us seeing the English have themselves another bat. It's just that question of can Australia extend their lead to that 350 or so before that happens. That's still another 70 runs away, which at the moment for today, I mean, they've scored a few runs because we saw Kawaja ticking over quite nicely. We saw Steve Smith get himself a couple early boundaries, but that was off the full pitch deliveries. Will Lyon bat? Only 5 wickets left, perhaps, says Simon Wood. Yeah, at this stage, I don't think they'll risk Nathan Lyon, even if they feel they are slightly short of the runs. Another short ball from Tong there. But yeah, I don't think they'll want to risk him because, like, I feel like we know that he's getting short stuff, isn't he? Unfortunately, because every other shot that he's played normally that he's gone out to has been the short ball. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did bowl short to him if he did make his way out there. Cummins, though, in the back of his mind, he'll be like, we shouldn't need to use him. So I don't think they'll make him bat. And if they do, that shows that they're desperate for a few more runs, you'd have to say. And Lyon will not bat, says relaxing Kiwi. But yeah, you wouldn't want to risk him. And if him batting is the difference between him playing the next test match and missing out, you'd definitely say, right, Lyon, just don't panic. We'll have you covered. Well, it's like Ollie Pope. For him to be able to bat at 3, England, in a way, they might be batting with one less man in the middle as well because, yeah, they were like to him, the umpires, they said, oh, if you want to bat at 3, you're going to have to field. And he went out there and fielded and then injured himself worse. So, yeah, I don't know whether or not he will actually be able to bat. I think he's got ice on the shoulder and the elbow at the moment. But, ice can sometimes only do so much. He's sitting on 2 runs off 6. That is slow in his style of play, but just building into it. Could have been gone for a golden duck. Oh, it's an ugly delivery. That one's hit him on the glove. Hasn't carried to Joe Rudin close. Really skidded on as well. Root's loving it. The Aussies, though, they'll be taking this all in going, okay, if you want to bowl short stuff, we'll bowl short stuff. We don't mind. And it's interesting because I don't think you want to be in a short ball battle with the Aussies because they've got some very talented bowlers who will just go time and time again in that exact same spot. But that looked like it almost actually hit him on the back arm. I don't think that hit the glove in the end. I thought it had first glance. Another short ball has to duck underneath it. You can see Travis said he's sick of it. He's just sitting there going, really, this is what we're doing? And like they've said, it's working well. Yeah, doesn't end up hitting him in the glove, instead actually hits him on the bicep. Show him another short one's coming here from Tong again. Yep, I'm down the lead side. I feel like when it's always short, you run out of things to say for each ball, don't you? Because it's all looking the same. That one was a little bit different though, because it did go down the leg side. Ricky Ponting was a great short ball player pull shot. Says relaxing Kiwi, and England's highest fourth innings total at Lords is 307. And that's the fifth highest fourth innings total at Lords all time. Says Simon Wood. Mm. But then, I still question what this English side can do, because I think if they're being more aggressive, how do I explain this that it makes sense? It makes sense in my head, but I don't think words make sense when I say them. You know, what I'm thinking is because they're being more aggressive and hitting the bad ball to the boundary more often, they're able to progress further than a team that wouldn't go after that ball. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does. You know, like they're willing to go after that ball that they could hit a 4-4, whereas some sides would leave it and then, eventually the balls catch up with them and they don't get the runs. Whereas for England, getting a few boundaries every few overs, I think that will help them a lot get closer to that total, even if they do lose their wickets then. I I don't know if that made sense. It made sense in my head, but I don't think that. Did you understand that, Simon, or was that just me talking gibberish? Probably me talking gibberish, to be fair. I do that quite a bit. It's looking like a 5-0 Ashes whipping, says Rooster there. And Lion will bat if he has to. That's how it is, says Peter. Right, Stuart Broad. Currently at the moment, we see Cam Green. He is sitting on 0 runs. He's yet to get a run throughout this Ashes test match. Broad bowl short. Bounces over the shoulder of Cam Green. It's a patience game at the moment. Oh, okay. They're just talking about it in the commentary. And they're saying about how if the batsmen aren't playing shots, how many short balls are you allowed to bowl in an over without it being part of the intimidation law, I think he said. Said that it changed in the early 90s. You're allowed 2 bounces. So they're I don't know what it is. Okay, so the commentator has just said that pretty much the umpires. Yeah, it's a weird one. The commentators are just having a little bicker at the moment between them. Another short ball, Cam Green ducks underneath it. Rick McCosker, batter with a broken jaw. That's how it is that when you play for Australia, you bat if you have to, says Peter. Although it's the question of would you rather have a broken jaw or have your legs not be able to run? Because theoretically, he can just plant the feet at one end, but apparently he's on crutches, so just waddle your way out, use your bat as a walking stick, plant the legs and go, right, I just have to swing here. Nicely played by Cam Green. That one not as short. He'll have a runner. You're not actually allowed runners anymore, I don't believe. I think that rule actually got changed was it 2 years ago? I think we were talking about yesterday how the runner rule actually got taken away because people were taking advantage of it. So now you're not actually allowed a runner. Makes sense, but I do personally think, anything up to 350 is gettable, be it with a bit of luck, says Simon. And thanks for this, G. You're the goat, says mainly minimal. Thank you very much, mate. Usually appreciated. Another short ball broad. Sticking to that tactic, that is for sure. Cam Green currently sitting on 0 off 10. No runner, says relax and carry. I'm really, I have not heard that, says Peter. But yeah, they ended up having to take away runners because, unfortunately, a little bit like all rules, people tried to bend them and tried to use it to their advantage. So, like, you'd have guys who weren't as quick who would then have quick runners and all that kind of thing. So they ended up just pretty much scrapping the rule. So for Nathan Lyon, he'd have to stand at one end and either limp the single, which would have been like 3 if he was able to run, or just have him sit at one end and just swing the bat and hope that he doesn't pull something worse in the process. Like, I mean, they could heavily strap it and just hope for the best. But yeah, of course, you want the Australians to be able to get those runs before it gets to Nathan Lyon. Only 283 runs ahead. We have not seen a lot of runs being scored throughout this session now, ladies and gentlemen, ever since the short pitch bowling has become a prominent figure in the way that England are playing this game, which is fair enough because it's dried up the runs. It's created 2 wickets of the 2 set batsmen. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon because Travis Head's only scored 2 runs since making his way to the middle. Cam Green hasn't scored a run since making his way to the middle. Another short ball, nicely whipped away by Travis Head, and that will be 4 runs. Has managed to find the gap in the field. I mean, that will annoy England a little bit, but it won't hurt them too badly because that one's only got up to about here, and they're just talking about the fact that Tong, this is a long spell. Been bowling flat out. Yes, he's picked up a wicket, but how long can you continue that intensity of bowling around the head of an opposition? That was a pun, wasn't it? That's gone over the top of Travis Head's head. Going to be left alone. I think that was called as 1 shot for the over. Just showing the first ball that Travis Head faced. It was a dropped catch, but then the very next ball, Steve Smith went out, so it was tactical. That got rid of Smith, who was playing the short ball pretty well. Oh, well, you are right. No runners since 2019. I can't believe I've not heard that before. Oh, there was another almost half chance for Jimmy Anderson. Oh, it's going to be the replay of the replay. I thought maybe it was professional since 2011. I'm sure you were allowed runners, I think, in lower grade cricket for a little bit longer. Unless that was just because no one really followed the actual proper rules, but if it was 2011, that's 12 years ago. That didn't feel like that long ago that we saw guys standing next to the batsman doing the running, did it? Like, what was I? About 11 years old in 2011. I guess maybe that was. And internationals from 2011. What was it from club competitions? Do you know? Like, as in not international, but professional cricket. Was there a later date that it got changed, or was it just 2011 as well? Cam Green back on strike, yet to get himself a run here. Another short ball, left alone. Bairstow misfields a little bit, but they will not take the single for it. Johnny Bairstow, that's about the 5th one that has slapped into and then out of his hands today. So he's really not helping that situation of whether or not Folks would be the better option. Keeping gloves on. Although not a lot has been sticking for some of the English fielders, unfortunately. Looks like they're making another field change here, putting in a leg slip for Cam Green, who was just scouting out the field. Tong now ready with the cross seamer. Okay, what's this one going to do? Just straight through. I got all excited there because I managed to pick what he was going to do with the ball, but I think he was showing pretty much everyone but Cam Green. Well, left alone. Just talking about the fact that it was a good test match line, but there were no slips in play. Another short ball. It's gone over the top. Need to build the pressure on Green here, says Simon Wood. Yeah, he hasn't been able to score in a long time. We've seen 5 runs from Travis Head in that over, so that was helpful for the Aussies to tick it towards that 300 mark. But yeah, the runs have certainly dried up. Not sure Hamish and Law still have runners in them, says Peter. Oh, okay, so it was just international that they took out. Trying to think if we've had any people who have been injured in our games or who we've played against. I can't really speak for everyone because I've only played like the last season that I played cricket was this year or some of last year as well. And that was the first time I played cricket in 10 years, which makes me sound really old, which I mean, I look a bit older than I am, I think, but like, yeah, it was good to get back out there. We had the GoPro on, so we had a couple helmet cam videos that have gone up on the channel for anyone who is interested in that kind of thing. We've actually got a couple more coming out in the near future as we build a little bit closer to the regular season, which I am hoping to do the filming for again. Short ball, that's down the leg side. Only got up to about hip height, so I'm wondering whether or not Stuart Broad maybe wanted it. Oh, okay, Travis Head. I think he's just had a field change for his batting there from Stuart Broad. He said that if it connects, it's going to go up. So I think he sent the fielder back a little bit further. Yes, he did. A lot of gaps in the field at the moment. But Australians, they just haven't quite been able to find them as of yet. I'd like to see one pitched up ball at some stage soon because I think by doing that, you possibly put that little bit of doubt in the Aussie mind. You know, they'll see that pitched up ball and they'll go, oh, this is my freebie. This is the one that I get to hit. And then if they mistime it, that could actually cause the wicket more than 50,000 short balls. You know, like it's a great tactic. It's just, I feel like I've watched the same ball about 74 times in a row for these two batsmen. You feel like if they do try and play a shot, there's going to be a wicket soon, you know? Another short ball. Oh, it's the man in close. Joe Root takes the catch and they get the wicket of Travis Head. Short ball specialist, because you could call him Stuart Broad. No one ever thought they would say that. And just that's by the way of bragging. I did a tour of Lords in 2009 and Darren Goff happened to be there and welcome and chatted to our whole group. There's Peter there. So great catch from Joe Root. Dove out to the side, and Travis Head now dismissed. The Aussies find themselves 5 down. Great work from England. I think Joe Root, he was telling the umpire that it was out. He disappointed. It now means that we get to see Alex Carey, who didn't go out to a short ball in the first innings, did he? He actually went out to a pitched up delivery. Then Palms will keep bowling short. We keep giving them wickets. True. It's like at a certain level, it's like, okay, short ball after short ball after short ball. But then, like you said, there's a wicket every once in a while, and they haven't gone for a huge amount of runs. So, I mean, I feel like this test match might lead to a lot more short stuff being bowled throughout the rest of this Ashes series. And depending on who the bowlers are, like Broad's come in and got himself 2 wickets here. I don't see Anderson bowling short though, and this game is cranking up. Says Octodad. Well, now we're in that scenario of Australia, since the start of the day, haven't scored a huge amount of runs, have lost 3 wickets. It's the first session every time. The first session of each day, day 2, day 3, day 4, so far have had a total of 14 wickets across the 3 sessions. Now, I don't know if that is coincidental or what, but it's effective. It's like Alex Carey, from what they've said, he's going to have more of the same, the short stuff from Stuart Broad. They're talking about the fact that Nathan Lyon's still on crutches, so he probably won't bat. But Australia now looking a long way off that 300, aren't they? Joe Root looking all excited. Alex Carey, short ball, ducks under it. And about how normally short leg would have Travis, or sorry, not Travis, Ollie Pope there. How many short bounces per over? You are normally allowed 2, but the rule is it's going to be above the shoulder height. So pretty much you can bowl here all day, no worries at all. But then if it goes to here, you have 2 more, and then yeah, from there it's a no ball. But we haven't actually seen any of those called throughout this match so far. That's another short ball from Broad, but not quite getting it short enough to count as one of the short balls there. With no runner, he won't bat, I wouldn't think, says Peter. One more wicket and into the tail, says Simon. Travis Head just trying to use that one and whip it to the leg side. Just didn't end up working out for him. Joe Root, he was pointing up to Ollie Pope. He got slapped in the back of the head by Stuart Broad with that one. Catch of the match, says Octodad. Yeah, beautiful diving catch from Root out to his left-hand side. And meanwhile, at the other end, Cam Green is still sitting on 0. Like they mentioned, this is the shortest bowling we have seen from England throughout a first session of a day at Lord's ever, they mentioned earlier on, with an average length of 9 metres away from the batsman. Something they have never really gone down that route of. But it's an interesting one because some people will be like, oh, they're just bowling short. I know I said a little bit earlier on they're bowling short, but we have said that it's tactical and it's working as well. But yeah, some people, just like when they see Bazball being played when they're scoring more runs and over than normal, they'll be looking at the short ball bowling and they'll be like, this isn't test match cricket. But then it's getting wickets. Now, it's been very effective. Tong's going to continue. I hope that this youngster doesn't end up with an injury here because he's bowled about 7 overs in a row at the moment. There you go, 9th over on the bounce. I thought I was being generous with 7. Oh, and a record-breaking catch for Joe Root now goes ahead of Alistair Cook, sitting on 176 catches now, Root. Very successful. Yeah, who else they got on there? Ian Bell with the clean 100. Gooch, Anderson, thought, oh no, not Jimmy Anderson. Could have been 106. He caught that one at Travis Head. A short ball. Cam Green works it to the leg side, and he does pick up his first single of the match. And the winking faces from Simon. And when did England start wearing white women's hats? Says Octodad. White women's hats. Which ones we talking? Are you talking Stuart Broads? Or which ones? Like the floppy hat? Or the caps? I see that Anderson's got a cap. Broad's got the brimmed hat. We should be putting those short balls over the fence and backward square, says Peter. Although, that's the thing. Steve Smith, he was very hesitant with his, wasn't he? They've actually changed their field a little bit here. Looks like they might actually pitch the ball up a little bit to Alex Carey for a start. They can't afford to have it outside off stump, though, because or else then that is where the gaps are for Alex Carey. Down the leg side, quite far down the leg side, almost a wide. A moment. We are good. They're just talking about the fact that with the injuries and the fact that Anderson is more of a pitching it up bowler, Tongue is having to do a lot of bowling on the trot here. but he doesn't seem to be complaining at all. Rimmed hat in the outfield. I think it's only Stuart Broad who's wearing one of those, similar to the umpire's hat. I actually wore one of those once. That was in my first game. No wonder I only got 3 runs. Wasn't very effective. And the hat, I actually ended up. There's footage of me diving the wrong way at a catch, and then I ended up getting back up to my feet, falling over, doing a forward roll, and then getting back up, running in the wrong direction of the ball, and my teammate found the ball instead. Some would have thought I was drunk, the way I felt at it. The short ball, oh, that's it. Alex Carey on the elbow. NASA liked it in the commentary box. Quite a speedy delivery there from Tongue. Oh, did it hit him on the arm guard, or did it just fly through? Almost got him. Maybe just a little arm guard flick. Another short ball, nicely glided by Alex Carey. That one was a tad too straight from Tongue, and Alex Carey gets it down to that deep third man region. Almost a deep backward point, I'd call it. And that'll be 4 runs for Carey to end off the 69th over, 202 for 5. And the Aussies at the moment, they lead by 293. Here you go, Hamish. In June 2011, the International Cricket Council announced from October 1st, runners could no longer be used in international cricket, says Peter. Yeah, it feels weird to think that that's 12 years ago, like that's a long time. In fact, that long ago, I was half my age. And good day for South Africa. Says Rudy, welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing very well. What temperature are you looking at where you are, Rudy? Do let me know. Someone mentioned earlier on that you guys in the winter get about 24, 26 degrees. Currently here we're sitting 3 degrees, so it's warmed up a tad compared to earlier on, but it's also now windy. So that's going to add a little bit of wind chill, perhaps. Looks like Stuart Broad is going to continue with another over here. You'd assume that it's going to be Anderson and Robinson when they get to the new ball in 11 overs time. That is if they get to that new ball. Still plenty of time left in this test match, though. Another 5 sessions after this one. I think this might be the last over of this session. On once again over the top of Cameron Green's helmet. Cold as a frog's tit. And Terrell says Octodad. I don't actually know this, but I think on the side of the umpires' hats, they actually have their umpire number, which I didn't realize was a thing. Unless it wasn't, maybe it was just a word, and I thought it was numbers. I once had that in one of my driving test eye quizzes. It was early on in the morning, and I was half asleep, and the guy was like, "You want to just read that top line for me?" And I was like, "Circle, square." And then I got to the third one. I was like, hang on, are we doing numbers or shapes? Are we doing letters or shapes? I said. And he was like, letters. And I was like, okay. O, D. And I managed to pass. That's good. 497. Says Octodad. We need at least another 60 runs. Anything less than 350 is way too gettable, says Peter. It certainly adds a little bit more excitement into the remaining of this day. I mean, it may make day 5 pretty short, to be honest, which I hope isn't the case because the plan was to only do 1 session of today and do all of tomorrow. So, it might be a short day tomorrow, depending on how many runs are scored later on today, because I feel that before the end of this next session, we're going to see England batting. And it's going to be a very crucial time for them in the test match. Just about 20 degrees sunny today. Or today's sunshine, says Rudy. So that sounds not too bad. 497 on the umpire's hat. Yeah, maybe the umpire's number. Stuart Broad. Oh, it's pitched up. Here we go. left alone by Cam Green. Probably wasn't expecting it to be pitched up, which is where you wonder if that one had been on. Oh, okay. They've got two men out deep on the leg side. They've got about three slips now, or two slips and a gully. They've gone back to almost a test match field. So it's as if Broad's gone, no, I'm sick of that. It's too short. And he's decided that now he wants to pitch it up there, see if he can get Green driving and give him a couple of straight deliveries as well. That was a very nice one from Stuart Broad. Almost 70 overs gone. Now Green again. That one straight from Broad. And that is where Broad's bread and butter is. I almost said where his broad and butter is, but you want to make sure that you're bowling. Yes, he's got two wickets, but now that they've got rid of those set batsmen, I feel like Stuart Broad getting it right up there in the slot, making it a little bit of a 50-50 of whether to attack it or not. That is what they need for England. And then maybe at the other end, you have the man bowling a bit shorter. Solid again from Green, though. Doesn't let it sneak through, and that'll be the end of the over. 202 for 5. Australia still with that 293 lead. It seems like we've still got a little bit more time, maybe one more over of this session, I would say. Just showing a MasterChef ad, and now I really want to make food of some sort. I don't know what food I have. I actually, after last night's chat on the live stream, I actually went out and I bought a Chocoto, which some of you guys will know what that is. Streaming the next session? No. I think instead of streaming it, we are going to be watching it, but then I'm also going to be editing my most recent GoPro cricket video first or alongside it. So during this lunch break of about 40 minutes or so, I'll probably end up cooking something to eat. And then, yeah, into editing while watching the other sessions on my monitor, seeing as I got to it, works out quite nicely. Yeah, I have watching the cricket, doing the editing. I'll do that probably till about 5 or 5:30 a.m. So about 5 hours from now, and then head to bed. Wake up early afternoon, do some more editing, some more filming, and then yeah, cover the last day of the cricket. I don't know if you know, this just in, Leicester Nuku, Fletcher Null, and Will Jordan all won't fly to Argentina for next Saturday's match. And to replace Fletcher is Tavita Mafaleo. I did know that. Yeah, unfortunately, Nuku and Will Jordan going to be a couple of big hits for them, I would say, but gives the opportunity to someone like, I mean, Caleb Clark, he needs a good game at 11, and I feel like now that's slightly secured his spot there. Will Jordan, I think he was going to be the answer to fullback, so whether or not that means that Sean Stevenson gets half a crack. Jimmy Anderson now is going to be worked out through the cover region again, and it just seems like he can't quite get it in the right spot, well fielded in the deep by Matthew Potts. Just keeps it to the 2, giving Jimmy the last over. Yes, Peter, are you streaming day 5? We are, and the plan is to do all of day 5 on the channel. Yeah, there'll be a little bit more cricketing action taking place tomorrow than today. Potts slamming the body onto the boundary rope. Very well. Now Alex Carey's still on strike, a little bit fuller from Anderson. Only 4 balls remaining now. Showing Jimmy Anderson, it was actually him who managed to get Alex Carey out when it was coming back in, and then Stuart Broad earlier on in the game did manage to get him LBW. So it seems like the straight ball is the one that you give to Alex Carey, which may be why they've taken away the short ball tactic as well, because Alex Carey, normally when it's pitched up, is actually more likely shot. That is a brilliant shot, though, down the ground. That'll be another 4 runs. And Australia now with that move to a lead of 299 runs in the final over of session number 1. Three balls left though. He's just stepped to the ball, pushed at it a little bit. Fairly scary, but that was to help try and keep it on the down low rather than going uppish. Holds the pose. Great shot from Alex Carey. Three balls remaining. They don't want to throw away a wicket here, Australia. This will be a bad time to lose one, although if they did, that would be the end of the session. Carey currently sitting 10 off 10, so perhaps looking to be quite aggressive in the way that he's batting. Now back to the short stuff. That's actually Jimmy Anderson giving a short one too, which is something we don't see too often from. I think Root's just realised. I think Joe Root, not sure if he was talking to Alex Carey there or one of the other English fellas, but I think he was pretty much saying, I think that maybe Jimmy's a bit frustrated because he's tried that short ball. Another short one from Anderson. It's 2 for the over, says the umpire. The session finishes at 1:20 p.m. local time, says Ahmad. Does it? Oh, if they got a little bit more time because of the delays. If that's the case, then we've probably still got another 15 overs. Or sorry, not 15 overs, 15 minutes or so. I didn't actually hear when they said that. Interesting. So I guess that's because of the rain that we lost yesterday. They were slightly later starting today, though. Another short ball for Anderson. It'll be 208 for 5. Yeah, still 13 minutes remaining in this session. Here I was deciding what I was about to cook. England seem to be scampering through, trying to get through as many overs as they can before the end of this session. Will mean that they'll have a new ball pretty early in the next. Where's Root? Is Joe Root going to get a bowl? I think they'll stick with Stuart Broad for maybe a bit longer. I wouldn't mind seeing Joe Root get half a crack, maybe at the end of this session. Leader 299. Just talking about that they've been arguing in the commentary box, discussing how many it would be for England to be able to win from here. Cam Green went after that short ball. He's got onto it. There's only 2 back there. And he's been able to work it to the leg side for 4. And this might be now when England decide to change it back and have the short ball bowling to Anderson, or sorry, to Cam Green once again. But he went after it. Got on top of the bounce. Do you think the session will carry on if England take another wicket, says Ahmad? I don't think so. There's still enough up the sleeve for Australia. Like, even without Nathan Lyon, they've still got Stark, Cummins, and Hazelwood. So, yeah, I don't think they'll extend the session quite yet. If they took maybe even 2 wickets, they probably wouldn't extend it, to be honest. I think they'd still go for the lunch. Another short ball. Ducking underneath it there was Cam Green. Okay. So pretty much they've said here, because of the boundaries coming off Jimmy Anderson and off Stuart Broad, they've gone back to the short stuff again. See if he can get it right here, Stuart Broad. Yep, does go short. He went after it there, Cam Green, and it's gone over the top to Jimmy Anderson for the single. Took it on there. Good take from Bairstow behind the wicket. Ben Stokes, he was pretty keen on that. How close was this to him? He had a pretty fond reaction of it. Oh, no, that's pretty safe. No one really around that ball. Maybe the field change. I believe they actually had someone there before they decided to go back to it. When do England need to take another wicket? Well, ideally for England now. You know, there's not really any other time. There's no time like the present for the English. Definitely because they want to keep this total as low as they can up against the Aussies. Keeping them under 350 would be massive. Keeping them under 325 is even better. So, yeah, they need one soon just to keep that momentum rolling for them. Another short ball to Alex Carey. Braun, unfortunately, though, I think he's been straying a little bit too far down the leg side to Alex Carey. Not willing to allow him that little dabble on the offside. Andrew Strauss in the commentary box. It's just saying that we haven't really seen this long of a period of short bowl from the side in a session in a very long time. That one was outside of off stump, though. Alex Carey didn't quite read that one as well as he could have. Well bowled by Broad. Coverage for TVNZ is starting to cut a little bit in and out, which isn't ideal, but only a few overs remaining of this session, maybe two. Yeah, pitched up Yorker, just a little bit outside off stump. Alex Carey certainly not expecting it. Very late getting the footwork going, also stepping to leg, so made it that little bit further away for him to be able to reach. Another short ball that time going over the head of Carey. That'll be the end of the over, 213 for 5 now. Just doing an ad for The Simpsons. How many episodes of The Simpsons are there? Does anyone know the answer to that? Google has it somewhere as well, doesn't it? But I've been doing The Simpsons for a very, very long time, haven't they? Every night at 7:30, get a bit of Simpsons going. England has had a number or large numbers of extras, may cost them later, says Rudy. Yeah, a few no balls throughout this one, quite a few wides involved as well, although not as many as I did expect for the amount of short balls that we have seen. Is The Simpsons the longest running cartoon series? I know SpongeBob would be right up there. Family Guy's been going a bit, but nowhere near as long as The Simpsons or SpongeBob. I wonder what's had. I know Simpsons would have had more episodes, but what's been going longer? I know my mum shares a birthday with SpongeBob. Simpsons started in December 17th, 1989. Impressive. So The Simpsons is pretty much 10 years older than me. So it's about 33 years old, The Simpsons. Are they still making episodes of The Simpsons? The impressive thing in a way, if they are, oh, Cam Green's gone after that one. Hit it hard into the deep to Matthew Potts. And they do get there for the single. Yeah, the impressive thing is if they are still making episodes, the fact that the voice actors haven't changed their voices, if that makes sense, or not like a huge amount. Because, you know how, like, when a guy or a woman gets older, the voice slightly changes a little bit because Bart is actually played by a woman in the voice side of things. So like, being able to sound like Bart for 33 years is impressive. Good afternoon, Kiwi lads from sunny, chilly Cape Town. How's everyone doing? Back at work today, Saturday, says Russo. Hopefully you do enjoy your day of work. 62 extras so far. That is quite a bit. Is that just in this innings, Rudy, or in both innings? Do let me know, because 62 in just this one would be massive. This is debut in December 17th. The show has broadcast 750 episodes. Its 34th season started airing September 25th, 2022. Okay, so 750 episodes. Have you got the stats for SpongeBob out of curiosity? I assume that's off Wikipedia, maybe. So has SpongeBob got theirs? I don't. Now that I hear that The Simpsons have since '89, I feel like SpongeBob was a little bit later. Maybe about 90, 94, 90, 95, maybe. Or it might even be a little bit later. My brother is at the game today. I'm quite jealous, says Relaxing Kiwi. Well, he's seen plenty of short balls, probably more short balls than he ever would have expected to see in a singular day of Test match cricket. Hopefully he's enjoying it. The atmosphere seems pretty good there. I think it will be electric later on if they can pick up a couple more wickets. The English have a bit of a hit. So their innings as well, and both, says Rudy. So yeah, 62 across both is pretty huge. 17th of July, 1999, says Peter. Okay, so it's actually a little bit later than I thought. How many episodes of SpongeBob have they had? 38 in the first and 24 in the second so far. Busy here, shot full of interesting tourists and some pommies. Says Roof there. 305, the lead here for Australia. They will definitely want to get that to 350. And then we'll try and make it tricky for them, but taken over quite nicely just for now. I believe we'll get one more over in after this, if not maybe two. Another short ball down the leg side. 214 for 5 into the 73rd over. I went as the squad for the third test being announced, says Ahmad. I'm sure it will be, I think it's normally about 2 days or so after the first test, or even sometimes relatively close after, but they've got to finish this one first because, you don't want to announce someone and then have them unavailable. Ollie Pope will be a big question mark. And for me, maybe that's the opportunity that you need to put Johnny Bairstow into Ollie Pope's position and have Folkes back in the wicket keeping gloves. What's on top, or who's on top at the moment? Aussie's Warner didn't get too many runs, says Ruth. So I'd say at the moment, I mean, Australia runs wise are on top, but England, this session wise, they've actually been very economical, getting a few wickets along the way. 3 men catching on the leg side. Cam Green on strike for the final over of this session, and Cam Green can expect some short stuff, I would be thinking. Does get it, ducks underneath. He just jumped on his bike to the ground. His flat is not far from the ground, says Relaxing Kiwi. The series was renewed for a 14th season on March 24th, 2022. Because the voice actor of SpongeBob, he actually passed away, didn't they? I can't remember whether SpongeBob was voiced by a woman or a man, but yeah, they actually passed away not too long ago. I would try a SpongeBob voice impersonation, but it might sound a bit rough. Ritesh has said under 400, anything is chaseable. Exactly right. Like, as long as England can clean up these last few wickets within, I would say, they'd want to ideally 51, or sorry, not 51, but 350. That's about where they'd want to draw the line. 400 with the speed that they do score is very doable in the amount of time left. It's just whether or not those wickets start falling. There are 281 episodes of the SpongeBob SquarePants series up to date. Oh, good Yorker there from Broad. Hit down the ground. It's just a lot of waiting. Managed to save the single. Should England take the next new ball? I think they will. Joe Root warming up a little bit, thinking he might get an over if there is enough time, but I'm not too sure. Not much bounce in the pitch, says Annoy. Yeah, it's an interesting one. We haven't seen any spin today from Australia. When you get it in, the thing is, though, they are bowling it 9 metres back from the batsman. So it's actually almost that short in some regards that by the time it gets to the batsman, it's on its way down. So I'd be curious to know, like Tong's had some pretty decent bowling on it, getting a little bit of zip through, but other than him, the English bowlers, I just don't think they've been able to bowl quick enough, unfortunately, to get it going. Guy had his own wine bottle in the crowd. He does. Bit fancy. 9 hour Hamish, says Deegan. And yeah, it will be the case tonight. I'm going to be watching the next 2 sessions. We won't be streaming them, but I'll be watching them while editing my GoPro cricket video that we will be bringing out in the near future. Interestingly, I was working in Silicon Valley, sorry. Shot from Cam Green. That was in the slot. Broad paid for that one. It'll be 4 runs down the ground. Or is it? Oh, yes, it does. Rolls all the way. And there was Bart Simpson graffiti around San Francisco, says Peter. Plus, there are 26 more in the making for Neptune's 14th season, says Peter. It's quite impressive, isn't it? The amount of. Because was SpongeBob more of a weekly? No, it was probably it's all done in seasons, isn't it? Of course, you have the reruns. That's a nice back foot punch from Cam Green again. And that will race to the boundary for another 4 runs. That is the end of the over, and that'll end the session. So with those extra 8 runs, the Australians now leading by 314. The short ball tactic slightly changed near the end. Stuart Broad gets a big pat on the back from Ben Stokes, but they know that they needed 1 or 2 more wickets there to really keep the pressure on the Aussies. Did Joe Root just get? I think Joe Root just got slapped in the balls by one of his teammates. Is that what just happened? That kind of looked like that. He went down to ground as well. He didn't like it where it was. Do you think 350 is enough for Oz? I think 350 is a good start, but I'm thinking somewhere around that 375 to 400 might be a little bit more defendable. Like 350 is still an incredible run chase, but the speed that England score runs, I feel, is what will concern the Aussies. And yes, they got bowled out for 325 in the first innings. Nathan Lyon, not a spinning option. Joe Root's not looking happy, but that is because he got tap sacked before he made his way off the field. Does anyone know that term, tap sack? That's what they used back at school when I was a youngin'. Although some people didn't know what a tap sack really was, because there was a tap sack, and then there was like some people would just go around and punch people in the balls, which is not a nice feeling. Sandpaper in the jocks for Joe Root. Says Rooster, tell you what, that wouldn't feel nice, would it? Imagine jocks made out of sandpaper and then like trying to go for a run or something. I'm wincing just thinking about it, Root. Didn't even get a bowl. Says Deegan there. Yeah, which is a shame because I wanted to see what this pitch was doing in terms of spin. Maybe in this next session, right at the start, because they've got 6 overs to the new ball. So I would say if he doesn't get a bowl soon, I would be quite surprised. 350 is gettable by England, says Peter. I wonder what that was about. Says Peter, I think it was just someone kind of winding him up or just kind of teasing him a little bit or something. But yeah, I don't know whether or not he meant to hit him. Maybe he meant to hit him on the leg, but instead got him in the middle. But yeah, he kind of collapsed afterwards, Joe. He kind of hunched over. Wasn't feeling too flash, but I'm sure he'll be back out there for the next session. Be right into the bowling. But Australia currently 313 runs ahead. For this test match will be the only session that we cover of the day, but I will mention we are going to be back for tomorrow. All 3 sessions, that is if it goes, all 3 sessions will be covered on the channel. But I do thank you all very much for tuning into this live stream. It's been hugely appreciated, you guys all being here. I'm going to go get some food and try and start the fire. I think it's gone out. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting couple sessions. See exactly what will be coming up next. 320 is a bridge too far. Although earlier you did say 280, didn't you? So I feel like, it's a bit higher than what you thought for the the chaseable total. So any more than here is just make it that little bit trickier as well, isn't it? And see you later, says Shannon. And okay, Hamish, catch you tomorrow, says Peter. And thanks, enjoy dinner, says Rudy. And yeah, thank you all very much for tuning in. I will catch you all tomorrow for day 5 of this Ashes